Good morning, Clinton. It is 1 a.m. Alberta time, so currently it is Thursday, May 10th, 2012, and I am coming to you from my apartment. I'm not doing anything super exciting or cool. I'm just hanging out at home. I have a little bit of insomnia, so I've been getting to bed pretty late the last couple of days. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is, a couple of different things. A couple of things that you brought up in your last video, and a couple of things I want to talk about myself. I was really inspired by your last video where you were talking about For the Kids. So I thought I'd talk about some of my own experiences interacting with my peer group growing up, and some of the issues that you raised. And one thing that you talked about in your last video that I thought was really interesting is you were talking about modeling. Now, I would not call myself a model, but I was in beauty pageants when I was younger. One beauty pageant, technically. I was in the Miss Cape Breton pageant when I was in high school, and I was crowned Miss Cape Breton. And I wouldn't say that I was popular or stereotypical beautiful when I was in high school. In fact, I was actually a pretty hefty girl, and so I had a really positive experience with it. I think that the problem with modeling today isn't necessarily the age that girls are modeling. I think it's the environment of the culture that surrounds the models. And I say that because not just because models are super skinny, but also that culture really has this weird relationship with weight. We live in a culture of extremes. People are either super skinny or they're super big. There's no middle ground. There's no healthy anymore. We have a lot of trouble recognizing healthy, and I think that's where the problem comes in. As you know, I've battled with eating disorders and all kinds of crazy stuff when I was younger. And while I'm not super tiny anymore and I still kind of battle those demons, they are a result of actually going through school and dealing with a lot of bullying, as opposed to my pageant experience, which was actually probably one of the most self-affirming experiences I've ever had, and making me feel beautiful. And I wasn't what culture would call particularly beautiful at the time. And like I said, I was a big girl, and I think that having, larger models is great, but I think it's important to recognize that, it depends on if that body size is healthy for the person, because even in the modeling world, even plus size models, there's still this extreme that is not healthy. And I was reading an article on Yahoo News via Facebook a little while ago about Crystal Renn. Crystal Renn was a plus size model. Actually, she's been about every size in the book. And she's been super skinny and super big. At her highest, she was a size 16. I believe she is about 5'10" in height. So a size 16 is actually clinically obese for someone of that height. It's not a healthy weight, but that is the weight where she found her fame, as it were. Now, a few years ago, she went through a really bad breakup and recently lost quite a bit of weight. And she's down to a size 8'10" now, which in the modeling world is not plus size, but it's also not regular size clothing. You can't fit into those runway sizes at a size 8'10". So she's actually in a really interesting position. But I find really interesting is that the modeling world is looking at her like she is a freak. She abandoned the plus size world, that embraced her so strongly. And reading the comments on the news article that I was reading, I was actually really shocked at how hateful a lot of them were. People were calling her anorexic, ugly, stick insect, mean, horrible things to say to somebody. And the thing is, a size 8'10" is her healthy size for her body. She should be an 8'10". That's not super skinny. That is normal. I'm an 8'10", and I don't think I'm super skinny. So, I think it's really sad that this woman is getting tormented with online comments because people are saying, that she is disgusting to look at now. She's not. She's still incredibly beautiful. And I think it's absolutely cruel that people are taking it to this intense extreme of she's just, she lost some weight. Now, that said, she's not skinny enough to model like a professional model for the fashion runways because she's not tiny enough. So she's in a really awkward position because she's neither one nor the other. And in the fashion world, there's no room for a healthy body. A size 8'10", which is, for her size, healthy. And the article doesn't say why she lost weight. It could have been health reasons. Maybe she just got into a better exercise regime, started eating better. It doesn't say. So I think it's really hard for people to just judge and say, oh, she's ugly, she's, anorexic. It doesn't say that. It just says she lost weight. That doesn't make her ugly. That doesn't make her an extreme. The other thing you wanted to talk a little bit about was bullying and, being comfortable in who you are. And I've been noticing on the internet the last year or so, there's been a lot of these "it gets better" messages that have been circulating around. And as you know, we've talked about this a lot since I've known you, but I was heavily bullied when I was younger. I was shoved into lockers, I was called fat. In grade 6, daily I was pulling homemade signs off my back saying that I was ugly, stupid, a fat cow, you name it. I had it slapped on my back when I was a kid. I think the worst experience I ever had was I was in junior high, and I can still remember this completely vividly, and we're talking like 10 years ago because I'm really old. But I was doing a school play and I was changing, and this group of guys opened the dressing room door and said, "I can't believe I saw it naked." Now, that is probably one of the most hurtful things that has ever happened to me. One, it was one of the boys I had a mad crush on when I was a kid, but also I wasn't naked. I had a bra on, and I was a modest kid, so it wasn't like you could see anything, but they made me feel like I was nothing. And that is one of the hardest experiences I have ever gone through. And, people always tell you, oh, it'll get better, and, they're going to rue the day and they'll realize what they've done. The thing is, when they say it gets better, it does not mean that the bully necessarily realizes what they've done. What I've learned is that your life gets better because as you get older, you have more control over who you allow in your life and who you don't. In a junior high, it's really hard to stay away from those mean jerks who make you feel like crap. But as you get older, you can surround yourself with people who make you feel good and who you make feel good. So you have more control over the people you allow in. Funny story, I actually became friends with a girl who was friends with the boy who did that to me. I know, like crazy degrees of separation. And she talked to him about me, and he didn't remember it. He didn't remember doing that to me. And I don't know what hurt more at the time, the memory of what happened to me or the fact that it didn't even register in this kid's head that he had caused me an intense amount of pain. So, it's kind of funny because, what registers as painful to me doesn't even blip on his radar. And I think the other thing to remember is people don't think they're bullies. I actually have some of the biggest bullies from my high school on my Facebook today because, even today, however many years later, I'm still too much of a coward to take them off or deny a friend request to them because what would they think? And they don't consider themselves bullies. In fact, you see a lot of anti-bullying propaganda on their Facebook, and every time I see it, I kind of have a little chuckle to myself because I just keep thinking, you have no idea how hellish you made my life in high school. But then I look at my life, and my life is pretty darn good now, and I'm really happy. So, it does get better because you can make your life better. But making it better does not mean that the bullies rue the day that they hurt you, or even will ever acknowledge that they did. And I think that's really important to remember, because with all this "it gets better" propaganda going around the internet, I think that it's important to recognize that it gets better, but not necessarily in the way that you think it will. Because when I was younger, the only thing I wanted was for them to realize what they had done. Now I recognize that they probably never will, but I also recognize that it doesn't really matter, because the things I have in my life right now are really great. I have really great people such as yourself, and I'm doing some really crazy, amazing things. But I had to be the one to make that happen. And sitting around and feeling sorry for myself isn't going to get me there. I think that people have a lot of control over what happens to them, and they just have to get out there and, actually do it. And, make it better. But part of the "it gets better" is you have to make it better. And the only way to do that is to control who you let in and how you let people treat you. Because as you get older, your ability to tolerate or allow people to treat you badly greatly diminishes, and what you can do about that treatment greatly increases. Because when you're younger, you really don't have a lot of options. But the great thing about getting older is you do. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to throw the topic out to you for next time, and I will talk to you later. So have a good one. Bye. I'm going to go get some sleep.